Welcome, everyone. This is our celebration of National Black Child Development Week. The National Black Child Development Week celebration was started by the National Black Child Development Institute, which recently celebrated a very big anniversary. So, for our celebration this week, I have invited someone to give us a talk. Her name is Marie Carter, and she is the Director of Child Care Partnerships for the Cincinnati Hamilton County Community Action Agency. Someone I've known for about 12 years because my program was one of the first programs to join the partnership for the Early Head Start. So, Marie, thank you for being here, taking the time out to share with us. Why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Denise, for having me first off. And I am so happy to be here. Yes, I am Marie Carter, and I am the director of the Child Care Partnership Program at the Cincinnati Hamilton County Community Action Agency. This long title. We serve Head Start and Early Head Start in the Cincinnati proper area and also the Hamilton County area. I've been with the agency about 15 years now, and I've been about 10 years in my current role. But my what I always introduce myself as a proud Head Start alumni. I've been with the program for over 55 years ago, way back when I was 4 years old, back in the late 60s, and I am so thankful to the program that gave me my start, and I feel really blessed and humbled and honored to be able to serve in this capacity as of right now. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, thanks, Marie. Well, first of all, okay, talk to us a little bit about the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership.
Okay, we our agency as a whole, we like I said, we serve a Cincinnati and Hamilton County area. We serve about 1,500 families altogether in our area. The program that I get a chance to serve, we serve 168 children, infant and toddlers out in the community. We have 10 child care partners that we partner with. So these are 10 child care centers that are independently owned. And we partner to help improve the quality of the partnership and just to enhance things. So I have a whole staff of a whole team of people who work with me. I have education coaches who helps the teachers with their lesson plans and all kinds of assessments with the children. We have family service workers that works with the families there to help with all family needs and any kind of engagement opportunities and referrals in the community for any resources needed. Also, they help to do screenings for the children because we believe healthy children do better in school and in life. And we also have a fiscal coach, or I'm sorry, a fiscal specialist, and he helps to work with all the finances because we do give the partnership. There are dollars involved, and there's also human resources and materials that we give, all kind of things to help to improve the quality of the child care centers we work with. We have 25 classrooms too out of those 10 centers, and about 50 teachers that we work with. So we're pretty busy.
Well, good. I'm so grateful that your partnerships are continuing. I just want to share that when my program started partnering with the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership, the coaching that we received from Marie Willens,
Yes.
who was also the president of SWOAEYC, um, really helped us as we were on our road to achieving 5 stars in Ohio Step Up to Quality. So I've always been grateful for what she was able to help our staff to accomplish. Okay.
Wow, that is so good to hear. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that too, because
Yes.
we have 6 coaches and they do a phenomenal job. And now Marie has moved up from coaching to actually managing the coaches, so she's over that part of the program. And you mentioned the star rating. We do have out of our 10 centers, 9 of the centers are have hit five. 7 of them are actually, yeah, 7 are gold star, 2 are silver, and 1's bronze. So we've been moving them up, and we're looking forward to get all 10 to be gold star. So we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of uncertainty expressed about Head Start funding over the last couple of months. However, the proposed federal budget calls for Head Start funding to remain at the current level in 2026. Do you have any other concerns about restrictions that might be placed on Head Start programs?
Yes, as far as that, we are thankful for the funding that we are receiving. A little disappointed because we were hoping to have an increase this year. We've historically have had increases every year, pretty much close to the cost of living. This is probably the first year that I've been in the program, the 15 years that we did not get increase in funding. Some of the concerns we do have, it does make us have to be a little more creative in using the funds. Is sometimes it can really, for the child care partners, it definitely is concerning because it will limit how much we can actually to invest in their program. It will limit some of the materials that we can help purchase for them, some of the teacher salaries. There's a small increase we just recently were able to do, but that was based on a reduction of some of our slots. We're able to increase some salaries, but that will be it. It will definitely have we'll definitely have to be more mindful of even more mindful. We're always mindful. And we always try to make sure we are fiscally responsible for the dollars we're given, but it will be a little tighter when it comes to materials and trainings for the staff. It will require a whole lot more creativity. Like I said, materials and even when it comes to events that we put on, we'll have to be real more mindful of how many events we're able to really fund for the program because of the funding being flatlined.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate because what you all do is so important, and we're already struggling in our field to keep qualified teachers because
Yes.
we struggle to pay them what they're worth. And with the funding not being increased, that's just going to make it that much more difficult. Okay.
Yeah, and Denise, and can I add to that too? I mean, as what you mentioned, it definitely all those things that are the funding restriction. It ultimately impacts our children and our families because they get less of what we can do for them. Even for our teachers who are already on a shoestring budget, it really makes the directors have a harder time to provide any of those fringe benefits or those outside benefits that will help the families, the teachers who we serve. And so it all the way around it, all the way around, it definitely makes an impact on our teachers, our families, our children, who ultimately are the ones who will who will lose out on some of those services that we can provide because of the low funding.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, other proposed funding cuts in the federal budget refer to Medicaid, a program that has been extremely helpful and vital to Head Start eligible families, and to the SNAP program, which helps families feed their children. How are our Head Start leaders planning to help members of Congress understand the serious impact of cuts to Medicaid and SNAP?
that's a good question. We typically do a lot of advocacy work on the federal level at Capitol Hill. I've had the privilege of being able to go at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. We, as a group of Head Start staff members and parents, go down to the Capitol in the fall and in the spring, and we go to the Senate building and we go to the House of Representatives and we talk to aides, and sometimes we get a chance to talk to the senators if they're not in session. But we advocate for the program. We thank them for their support. Historically, Head Start has been a bipartisan supported program. So both sides of the aisle have been supported. This year has been a little more challenging for that. So, but I'm glad to see that the letters that were all written, and that was part of the advocacy work, was mobilizing past alumni, current teachers, past teachers, family members, anybody who was impacted by the program to write letters, to make phone calls to senators. So we definitely have increased that since what we normally do. We've increased it. And we've also invited a lot of the representatives to our programs to come out and take a look, to come out and actually tour the building, tour the program to see what we do and how their vote affects our program. A vote for that we definitely are asking for their vote. And we want them to see the children who are impacted by what they by their votes. And so we do a lot of that. We letters, invite them out, go see them at their buildings. I've walked many times. Many of steps have been been walked at the Capitol And I've been very blessed to be able to go for the last 10 years. I've gone every year since our program. This is our 10th year of our child care program. We're at the end of the 10th year, actually. And in August, we'll start the 11th year of the program, of the child care partnership program. And I'm very blessed to have been able to still advocate. And I get a chance to share my story too of how it has impacted my life and my family. So I think those are the things that, and I would love to mobilize more alumni to get out and to do that, to make a speak, to speak up and make a difference in our program.
Okay. Well, this year, Head Start celebrates its 60th anniversary. That's really hard to believe.
Yes.
I know that you have a special connection to the early days of Head Start. You kind of hinted at it, but tell us a little bit more about that and how that Head Start experience has impacted the way that you have parented your own children.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a proud Head Start alum of the program. I was started back in, I believe it was 1967 to 68. And it was a couple years after the program had started. I was in the afternoon class. I was a PM child who came half a day. And I remember the school was Taft Elementary. And I remember walking to school, to preschool, and I had no idea that I was going to Head Start. I just knew I was going to school and I loved it. And I fell in love with learning in school, and everything that involved school was, I loved it. And when I later, of course, 15 years ago, was hired to be, or came into the program to CAA, I still had no idea that was a Head Start child until after I was hired. And my aunt, who worked for the program at the time, she was one of the managers for Head Start. She said to me, you were a child in this program back. And I said, well, because she would walk me to school back then, and she would pick me up and walk me. And I said, it was Head Start. And she said, yeah. I said, wow, that's amazing to have come back full circle to work for a program that started me on that love of learning. And it really made an impact in my life. It impacted how I parented my 4 children. My son, I have 1 son and 3 daughters. And that love of learning, I went on to get my early childhood associate degree in early childhood, my bachelor's degree in counseling, and my master's degree in community counseling. But as a young mother, I was a young mother with little people. I wanted to be a teacher, so I taught them at home. I was their first teacher. We talk about parents being the first teacher. That was me, and I would label everything up and teach them all kind of things because I loved learning. I loved the whole idea of just being able to, I don't know, understand how the world was made, and it was also fascinated by it. That later, my son, as he grew up and fast forwarding, I even worked in Jamaica for a little bit of time, in Montego Bay for 4 years in the 90s. My husband at the time, my ex-husband now, but at the time husband, we went with the 4 kids over to Jamaica and worked over there in some school system there. And really, it even more so inspired that love of learning. And we returned back to the States. And my oldest son, he eventually went to Yale undergraduate school and Harvard Law School. And I'm so thankful for his that path. And I knew there's a direct correlation to my love of learning, which was started by Head Start way back, over 50 years ago. And 2 of my daughters now have master's degrees in different areas, one in theology, and she taught preschool in Uganda for 2 years before the pandemic. Another daughter has her master's in urban planning. And my youngest daughter attended Berklee College of Music in Boston on a music scholarship kind of thing. And all that was, a direct correlation for my love of learning that I believe was passed down to them. And I really do give Head Start a lot of credit. Of course, I did the work, and and my family did too. And but it was Head Start that opened the door, that gave me that foundation for love of learning. And I didn't mention yet, but because of Head Start too, I'm a new children's book author. I've published 3 books, and my first book, which I happen to have here with me, is called I Love School. And I'll send a copy of it for you. You probably can't see it because of the blur, but it was my tribute to Head Start. And it talks about my Head Start journey and how much I love school, and all the wonderful experiences that school gave me with the social emotional foundation, learning how to take turns, learning how to share things, learning how to say your name, and the routine of class, being able, even as small as pouring orange juice. I mentioned in my book, at home, our mom poured our juice, but at school, I was able to pour with my teacher, and I learned self-help skills. I remember my favorite thing to do in school was to paint and put on a smock and paint on the easel. And back in the 60s, we did not have little Tikes toys like that. We were, my parents, I have a two-parent home. My dad worked hard. My mother was stayed home, but we didn't have extra things like that. And now there was no money for me to go to preschool outside of Head Start. So I would not have probably loved school had I not had that foundation. But walking in that classroom, it was like magic. And I still remember it 50 something years plus later. My teacher's name was Miss Walters. I remember her name. I remember just, I can't see her face, but I know how I felt. Like what Maya Angelou says, that we may not remember what a person said or did, but we knew how they made us feel. And I felt special and important, confident by that experience, and so thankful for it. And which is why, which really drives me to want to make sure that all kids who are able, get a chance to have that experience, no matter what family you were born in, you should have a chance to really have education, to have a good educational foundation for you to move forward. It shouldn't just be for, certain people. We all should have that. And so I'll stop that because that's my soapbox with us. I'll stop. I'll get off for a moment so you can ask another question.
Oh, that's
Right.
that's fine. But if that's not a Head Start success story, I don't know what is. But thank you for sharing that with everyone.
You're welcome.
Head Start's emphasis on family involvement has always been a key factor in the program's operation. What impact has this had on the success of children and their families through the years?
I think the Head Start's the fact that Head Start is a two-generational approach is definitely a unique part of our program. It really helps to the part of our success is not only do we help the child in the classroom and really help to move that child and get them ready for kindergarten and life beyond and have all the skills you need. But it also works with the families because children, always say they can't drive themselves to school. They can't walk to school and dress themselves. They need someone to bring them, and they need parents. And our family service workers are phenomenal, and they work with families. They're able to meet them where they are, build relationships, help to find out what the gaps are that's missing, if they're in need of any housing assistance or food assistance or any kind of anything that we look internal at our agency first to see what we have at the community action agency. And if for some reason we have programs that they are still in need of that we don't have, we go outside of that. We have lots of partnerships with lots of other programs. I know CityLink is one of our partners. We have partners all across the city that we refer to, and we also know, like you say, that it takes both generations to move forward. And so without that family service worker input and services, we're really leaving only half of our job is done. Again, we're there to build families, to build strong children and strong families. And one of my favorite quotes I always like to say from Frederick Douglass, that it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken adults. And Head Start does both. We build strong children and we also help repair broken adults because there are a lot of adults who did not get that foundation or have that support system that we help to come alongside. And we have lots of success stories of parents who we've helped to make referrals to or help to get education or different. We have all kinds of training programs to help to move them up economically. Even some who don't have their GED, even help them to get that start. We have a lot of great programs, and without that, again, our program would be a one-sided. It would only be for children, and it's about both. So that was the genius of those who created Head Start way back 50, 60 years ago. When they put it together, they saw fit to make sure they included moms and the parents, moms, dads, sometimes grandparents, depending on who's the caregiver, and also to benefit the child too. So kudos to Head Start for that.
I agree that that is so extremely important. I mean, even in the program that I spent a good chunk of my career with, working with teenage moms and their children, we knew that we could only have our best successes with the children if we all also worked with the moms to help get them what they need. And for a lot of them, it was getting their high school education completed, but it was also there were so many other things that existed in their homes. and that they needed us to help them with. And because we were able to help them, their children were able to successfully transition into kindergarten. So that is
And you
so,
know, Denise, you made a huge point. That is so true. I have to agree to tag on to that one because sometimes we underestimate the power of parents getting their degrees and moving forward. Like those, the children we work with after they're 5 years old, they move on. They move out of our system onto the public schools. But for a child to still be with their parent and see their parent go to school and go back in and to continue moving forward is the greatest role model because that parent or that caregiver is going to be with them way longer than our program. So we really want to help to strengthen the family from the time they're with us. And my team, I say a lot of times to them that we really have to get it right. Like we only have about, I think it was like 1,400 days from a child from the beginning infancy up to I think maybe 1,500, a little more 1,500 days from birth to 5 years old. And so we only have so much time to do to help that window of time to help them, and they cannot come back next year for a do-over when we finally figure it out. We have to get it right. And there's something a Head Start, the program itself has really done a great job, I think, of that whole model of serving both of the children and the families to really help get it right, to get that foundation started so that they can continue on and move forward. And we have a homeschool program. Our home educators go in to work with moms from pregnant moms on up, and then once the child is born, that child takes a spot. But and kudos to you for working with teams too, teen moms, because that's definitely an area that we need to strengthen for sure, because that area is underrepresented. So
yeah, well, thank you. But absolutely. And parents are their children's first teachers, but I also add a phrase, they are also their most influential teachers.
yes, so true, so true,
Very true.
so
Okay.
true.
All right. Well, there are many issues affecting the operation of child care programs today, including the lack of adequate staff to serve the children who need to be served, an attempt by the state of Ohio to lower the education standards for child care teachers, and of course, lack of adequate funding to pay staff living wages. How have these issues affected CAA Head Start and its child care partners?
Again, it's been really a tough year. We're used to tough things, so I know that we're gonna move through it. We're gonna not only survive, we're gonna thrive in it. But it is definitely challenging. It's a struggle. There are a lot of programs that will have to have less of an impact, less programs, let's say less trainings, like I mentioned. As far as for the parents, we do a lot of parent education classes as well. So those will have to probably minimize a little bit on those and really pick and choose. What it will do though is to cause us to have more partnerships out in the community to try to really strengthen those partnerships. I know right now we're doing a diaper bank partnership, and so we're able to provide 100 diapers. I'm sorry, no, wait a minute. Is it 100? Oh, you know what? I think it's 100 diapers per month. The number just left me for a second. 100 diapers per month per child. And so that saves the parent about $150 a month in diapers. And if they have multiple children, that could easily be, 300, 450 a month, which is a parent would have to choose between whether they, buy diapers for their children or whether they pay utilities or pay rent or pay for transportation. So, and it could really also affect the children as far as their skin. If they have a diaper on you too long, it's a diaper rash and all kind of other things that could happen. So those kind of partnerships have been really been helpful. We also have a partnership with the food bank, so we do food distributions once a week, I believe, in different locations around the city, and that's been helpful too. But it does put more stress on the families in general to have less supplies when you have less SNAP benefits or less WIC benefits or Medicaid. Those kind of things increased anxiety, increased the whole. And my background is in mental health, so that's a whole increase in mental health and stress. I mean, there's good stress that we have, or bearable stress that are just things average living. We have stress every day, but then there's toxic stress that's a whole nother level that a lot of our families live through, a lot of toxic stress. And we wonder why, parents are having trouble with when we want to talk to them about their child's development. They're just tired. And so they're busy, or they're just trying to make it, or they don't have the bandwidth because they're trying to figure out all the other survival things. And I could easily go into Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need. If your bottom level is not met, everything else is just, you're in survival. You're, or conscious discipline. You can go there too, where you're just on that survival bottom rung. And a lot of our families are living there, and some of those things that are being cut is making it really hard for them to move forward, to actually be able to thrive, because they're constantly thinking about transportation and utilities and the lower wages, and we have attendance problems sometimes because of it too. So it's a whole host of things that are affecting our families. And even with all that, our family service workers and our teachers and our coaches, they're all working even harder to reach out to families and to make the extra effort to see how can we help and what can we do. And even if it's just to make a phone call or just check in how you're doing, even if they don't need anything that month, they appreciate that phone call and that check in, or even at their center to see how things are going. So, but it does make it more challenging for us as far as, and we have to work a little harder, a lot harder, I should say,
A lot
you know,
harder.
a lot harder.
Well, thank you for sharing all this information about what Head Start has been doing through the years and what you're currently going through now. I mean, I think our entire country is going through some stressful times. Um, what This is my last question. What do you hope for the children that your program serves um, throughout the rest of this year and maybe into next year? What are your hopes that for those children about how they will be prepared, how they will help, they will be allowed to survive a lot of the stresses that are being placed on us all the time? What do you hope for?
That's a really good question. I think what I hope for them is what I hope for my own grandchildren. I have grandchildren now, so I'm a grandmother. I'm a Gigi, and I have four grandchildren, and I also have remarried, so I have nine total grandchildren. I have some five bonus and three great grands, three bonuses. And what I'd hope for all of them too is that they would be able to be in a place that will, a nurturing place that will love them and support them, to help them grow to be their best selves, and also for our Head Start classrooms to be a safe haven for children when they come in for those times, because there's lots of stressors out there in their families. There's 75% of our families are single parent households. That's a lot of stress. I mean, I just can't even imagine having multiple children, even one child by yourself and taking care of it, having to be the breadwinner, and when you come home still be nurturing, and it's a lot. So I really hope and pray, and our goal is that every classroom, every teacher that we work with would love our children, be there to support them, to see that child is not just somebody to babysit, but that we're there to have do the early childhood education moments, and to use the routines to really support their development, to really help them to love themselves, to be confident, to help with that resilience. So when they do continue on and move on to the through the school system, they'll have that foundation set that I am somebody loves me, and I'm important. I can do these things. I know how to, take care of my neighbor and to take turns with something. I know how to, writing your name and those kind of rhythm, the academics, those are important too. And you get that as you get more in kindergarten and beyond. But I think preschool and infant and toddlers that we work with in the community, in our child care centers, really, it's about that social emotional development, that social emotional time to really, that sense of self, and also that sense of community with other people. I know there's a lot of books out there about what we learned in life, we learned in kindergarten, or we learned in preschool. Well, it's just so true. Those foundational skills are what we all need. And so I really want our babies to have that, and to have the best start they can get, to really have a real head start, like my badge says, a head start, have that head start, to get that early head start, and actually be able to be their best selves, and and learn how to push through adversities. We, that's definitely part of life, is to having that grit. But children shouldn't have toxic stress grit. That's, that's adult level. They should have the little things that come with being a child, learning how to tie their shoe or learning those things, but not the kind of stressors that a lot of their families are dealing with. And a lot of those stressors that families have are transferred to their children. They're in those environments. So we just really hope that our centers will be that safe haven, that oasis for the day, not only for the child again, but for the parents when they come in, to really help them to elevate and to move forward. That's my word for the year, is elevate. So I pick a word every year, and elevating is what, continually improving things, continually getting better. So I want our child care centers to be a place I would put my own grandchildren in, and we're working toward that. That's my goal. It's a place I would feel safe and comfortable knowing that they have good systems in place, and we're definitely on that path. We've got a lot of good centers, a lot of good teachers, a lot of good directors, a lot of staff. We have a lot of great things in place, a lot of partnerships, and it's so nice to have worked with you and met you way back in the beginning of our partnership, and that was definitely and still work with you in different ways. So you haven't left the field, and you can't, because you're a great consultant, all the experience and education and all the love you have. We appreciate that. So I just want all the good stuff for our kids. So I'll stop there. I can think of a few more things, but
Mhm.
yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that and the ways that you describe that children are learning in preschool, all the things that we who really believe in the education of young children try to bring to our children are some of the same things that my first child's kindergarten teacher said to me. She said she could always tell if a child had been in preschool.
Wow.
It wasn't because they knew their ABCs or how to write their name. She said it's because they had social skills. They knew how to follow directions. They knew how to ask for help. And those are the things that
Good.
any good program for young children promotes. And so, and that's what
Yes.
Pixar has been doing for how many years? 60 years now.
60 years. That's amazing. Yes. And
Yes.
can I add one thing to that too? When you said something, when you think about curiosity, that's
Mhm.
something too, that curiosity and critical thinking skills, because you're right. That's a great thing for that kindergarten teacher to even recognize, to see a difference in children who are curious about learning
Mhm.
and able to just explore the world, so, and be able to think about things. So I love that. I love that.
Okay.
Yep, 60 years.
Well, okay. Well, Marie, thank you so much for participating in our celebration of National Black Child Development Week. It was so good to hear what you and the Cincinnati Hamilton County Head Start program have been doing through the years and are continuing to do in spite of all the stressors that we are all experiencing in today's time. Thank you so much. And I'm hopeful that this message will reach a lot of viewers who will gain something that will help them as they continue to work to make life much better for young children. Thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Bye bye.
Bye bye.